Hello, welcome to Urania Universe. In this video, I'm going to give a brief overview of the astronomy and ritual of March Equinox. This is video of 2 of 8 in which I will be discussing these 8 significant points that the sun makes in relation to us here on Earth and our perspective of watching it journey through our sky through the period of a year. This is also referred to as the wheel of the year and the 8 Sabbats in the pagan tradition. And so let's just jump right in it and really talk about what March Equinox is. And in order to discuss what March Equinox is, we have to, of course, talk about the astronomy and look at the astronomy. And so the word equinox in itself means equal night. So when we think about equinox, there's this element of balance. There's this element of balance between day and night. And with that moment of the March equinox, this is the point or the moment in which the sun is shining directly over that first point of Aries, that first degree of Aries on the celestial equator. The celestial equator is essentially an imaginary line that is the projection of Earth's equator in space. And with this context, even though we are all on different places within on this planet, we experience that point, that moment of March equinox at the very same time. Not the same time as far as like 6:18 p.m., but the same time as like that moment. And of course, what day and what actual like time is determined by your specific location. And so that is very significant and important because once the sun reaches that point, it begins to ascend to its most northern extreme, which is the Tropic of Cancer. And so that is experienced, of course, differently in the two hemispheres. So the northern hemisphere, the days will become longer, the daylight hours longer, the nighttime hours shorter. And in the southern hemisphere, it's reversed, right? So shorter daylight hours and longer night hours. And so when we think of March equinox, we actually really think of it being equal day and night. But what is interesting is that at that moment of March equinox, it's not actually equal day and night. So equinox, equal day, like say 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime, actually happens either a few days before, a few days after, or it could be a week or two before and a week or two after. And this all depends on your location. And this is due to the fact of the sun being a disk, right, and not a point. And then also due to the refraction or bending of the sunlight from our atmosphere here on Earth. And so if you want to get an idea of when that actual equal daylight hours and nighttime hours is for you specifically, you can check out Time and Date website, which I will post the link below in the description of this video. But that was a fun fact that I did not take into account when really going to the astronomy and even that moment and moving forward of like this concept of equal day and equal night. So then another significant and important point on the day of March equinox, this is a really nice time or a moment in which we can really connect with our cardinal directions and get clear on where that is locally. And so the sun will always rise east, due east and exactly due west on the day of the equinox. And so I will actually show you through Stellarium, which is a planetary software. I will show you what this looks like, right? And so you can get a visual of what I am sharing here. But the sun always rises due east and due west on the day of the equinox. So there is some element of alignment and balance here, and you'll see that in the visual that I share. And furthermore, when the sun is in that moment of the equinox of shining directly over that first point of Aries, it has neither a northern or southern declination, meaning that it's at that 0 degree point again, which is very significant, and it's a moment of alignment and balance. So again, the key points of March equinox is that it is shining directly over the first point of Aries, which means that it has 0 degrees of, it has zero orientation towards either the northern climb or the southern climb or the southern descend. Um, and then it also will give us an understanding and an alignment to our true east and true west. And it also is a point in which we are going to either experience some growth in the daylight hours or growth in the nighttime hours. And the sun is moving, will then move towards that northern extreme, which is the Tropic of Cancer. So let's check out a visual of that. I want to give you a visual of what it is I am referring to in regard to the astronomy of March Equinox. So what you see here is the Stellarium planetarium software for Mac and Windows. And this is the perspective from my location in Maryland in the United States. And so this is actually dated at, or this moment in time where I have frozen or paused the time is December solstice of 2022. So you can see the date and time down here. And I want you also to really pay attention to the sun's path here. So this red line is the ecliptic plane, which is the path of the sun or the sun's path from our perspective here on Earth. And then this green line is the celestial equator. The celestial equator is a projection of Earth's equator. So the Earth's equator projected onto the sky is a celestial equator, right? And so you see here, east to west, right? The cardinal direction, south is right here. And so as you can see at this moment in time, the sun is just about to set close to the southwest direction, and it rose earlier the day in that day over here in the north, northeast, I would say, um, point. And so this is the moment in which the sun reached its most southern point before it began to ascend to the most northern point, right? Okay, so I'm going to move the time forward to March equinox. And so here we are already in February, and you can see the line here as far as the path of the sun. The sun is beginning to set later, right? Because I haven't moved the time, right? So we're still at 4:47 p.m., but I started just moving the month, same day. And so you can see that the sun is setting later, and it's also moving more towards the western direction. And it's getting closer, the sun's path is getting closer to the celestial equator. So I'm going to move it up to March. This is March 21st. And here it is right on the celestial equator. The March equinox of 2023 is actually on March 20th from my location, it's at 5:25 p.m. So we're going to go ahead and mark that. Okay. And so here we are again. This is the point where the sun is in exact alignment with the celestial equator, and it will begin to move north of the celestial equator to its most northern extreme, that being Tropic of Cancer, that being the Cancer solstice or June solstice. And so I'm going to take the atmosphere off here for a second so you can just see, this, and it's still daytime, but you kind of get an idea. And here is the celestial equator and again, the ecliptic plane. And also let's go ahead and get rid of the ground here. And so you kind of see where this is going in a sense, right? So let's go ahead and put everything back up. And I'm just going to start to move the actual hour forward so you can see. Well, let's move it back actually. So we're going to go back to sunrise. So sunrise, we could say, is at like 6:25 a.m., although that might not be exact, but we'll see how long it takes to get to this side, which, okay, I'll share that in a minute. But here we are. So the sun appears to set east, and let's remove the ground here. So yeah, it is here. It's still in alignment here with the celestial equator, the sun and the celestial equator. So just wanted to double check on that. So we have the ground back up, and let's just move it forward in time. So that's still in alignment here. And then the sun is setting due west. So the sun rose due east, and then it's setting due west here. And so actually interesting, right? Let's move it back an hour. So the this is 6:25 p.m. So this is 12 hours after the sun rose. So you could say that the days are not equal, on the equinox, which I've talked about before. It depends on your specific location. For my location, the day of the actual equal day, equal night was on March 17th. So just wanted to show you that. But here we go. The sun is still setting due west and still rising due east. So let me go ahead and get rid of the ground again. And you can see here, I know it's hard to see. Let me actually remove the atmosphere so it might be easier. So yeah, the sun is still on this plane here due west, or on the celestial equator due west. And so we will move forward here to let's move so you can actually see. We'll move forward here to the June solstice, right? So June solstice is on June 21st. And this is the most northern point. Moving forward in time, you'll see the sun descend to, well, let me back it up. Sorry, one second. And so you can see here the sun will set, further west. It's not in alignment with the cardinal directions, right? So I just wanted to show that it's not always due east, due west. And so now moving forward in time towards equinox, which is actually September 23rd, the September equinox. And so here we see that it is right on that line there of the celestial equator and the ecliptic plane. And so we'll move it to sunset, and it's setting due west. So I just want to give a visual of that. Setting due west. Perfect. And then we will see the sun beginning to set, or the sun's path lower. Actually, let me move the hour back. There we go. So you can see this is the day of December 21st, the day of December solstice. And as you can see, the sun is south of the celestial equator. So I hope this made sense and was a nice visual for you to really integrate the astronomy of March equinox. On to the ritual of March equinox. So this is going to be presented from a perspective of the Northern Hemisphere, since that's where I reside. So that's what my practice has been primarily based in, of course. So if you are in the Southern Hemisphere, you will feel and experience the essence of this March equinox actually during September equinox. So it is mirror or reflected for you. So when we are looking at the energy or the essence of March equinox, it is the spirit of renewal, of new beginnings, and it's still in that infancy stage, right? So this is the point in which, again, the sun is shining directly over that first point or first degree of tropical Aries. And so in the context of astrology and the archetype of Aries, that is the beginning. That is also this essence of vitality and freedom and presence and inspired action. So it's like you're here, you're present, you're ready to move forward and to really get a head start with your intentions, so to speak. And so when we're looking at the essence of March equinox, therefore, I'm going to begin to say spring from the Northern Hemisphere perspective. Again, that is when we're starting to see the beauty of nature, or nature in itself coming back to life. We're starting to see buds on the trees and flowers sprouting up, and daffodils and tulips and all of these really even hardy flowers and plants pushing their way through the cold, dry land, right? And so you're going to begin to see even my favorites, dandelions. I saw dandelions today on my, just local neighborhood walk. And so this is the time of the year where you're beginning to see that life, to see that renewal. And that is where that divine or inspired action comes forth, right? And so renewal and hope is restored at this point in time. And so some of the themes that we know for, or that we correspond to March equinox, or therefore spring, is going to be, again, renewal, is going to be new beginnings, setting intentions, just a new start, even a new cycle or a new year. But one of the things, possibly when you are observing the spring equinox and ritual, is that you want to also look at this from a perspective, with all of this excitement, with all of this, your intentions really starting to bud, and you're starting to see a bit of the manifestation coming forth, even more so than, say, in bulk, right? This is the point in which we want to reflect, to ask ourselves, how do we sustain this fiery spirit? How do we sustain the inspired action? How do we sustain the vitality, right? And so we want to keep in mind of really having this cycle, that's flow, which also there is a, guidance to be in the moment, right? So there's like, essentially what I'm trying to say is, like, letting go of the past is important as you step into this even essence of initiation. When we think about this time of year where it's like, oh my gosh, it's starting to warm up, the days are getting longer, right? So what do I want to begin? What do I want to initiate for the year moving forward? And so that is going to, there's some element of really releasing and letting go what needs to be let go of, right? Because we can't do everything. And I think that's one thing with Aries. It's like there's so many different um desires, right? There's so much, it's hard to stay focused. And Aries is really good at lighting that match, getting the fire started, but then when it comes to sustaining it, that is when it becomes really, really tricky. And so our ritual and our observance of the spring equinox, of course, we want to focus on the concept of renewal and new beginnings and setting intentions and bringing in new life. But we also want to make sure we balance that energy, which is that equinox aspect coming through, balancing that energy with letting go, with releasing. And so that is in ritual how I began to kind of work with and step into spring, is also by really having that ritual before equinox even. So you're always going to experience usually that equinox, or pushing up to the equinox, you're going to have a dark moon essentially. And there's going to be a waning moon either in Pisces or Aries, right? And so either one, there is an energy there that you can work with letting go. But coming back to just the core essence of what we really see in the energy of what is um showcased and presented for spring, for March equinox, is you have Ostara, which is a really significant goddess, and that is going back to first century BCE, with Germania, is that's where that originates. And there is the essence of fertility, of even the rabbit, which that represents fertility. Then you have the eggs, and it gets kind of confusing because you're like, why eggs? Why rabbits? Rabbits don't lay eggs. So, but of course that comes back to the cosmic egg, the birthing, and the aspect of fertility. So you can integrate all of that in your ritual when it comes to observing March equinox. You can will also have, certain flowers. So bringing in spring flowers to your home, daffodils, drinking dandelion tea, bringing in tulips and so forth, anything that just brings in the essence of new life. But we want to make sure that we are making peace with the old, and so that we can have room for the new that's coming forth. So I hope this was really helpful for you in understanding the astronomy and ritual of March equinox. Definitely stay tuned for the following 6 videos on these 8 significant points that the sun makes along its journey. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you're enjoying this content, and of course, share with others who you think may like it as well. And I would love to hear your thoughts and your perspectives in the comments below. Thank you so much and have a good day.